first disclosed by Brad and Cher Steiger in their book Rainbow Conspiracy. There was something about this photo that intrigued me. It was apparently given to them by an anonymous researcher, along with details of the supposed find. According to the anonymous source, these machines were found buried in America, in an arid and sandy location. Found beneath an American military base in 1990, 6 were found in total. After their discovery, it was reported that the individuals who found them simply decided to rebury the strange contraptions in the same location. The researcher also provided an example of strange alien-looking petroglyphs that were reportedly written upon the machines in varying locations. The further I looked into this case, the more secretive and murky it all seemingly became. It wasn't long after this image and the attached story surfaced on the internet that forums were buzzing with theories, all attempting to explain the photo. Eventually, one theory was put forward with a proposal for what the machines could be. However, it is just as strange as the original story, and once you realize what is said and why someone would possibly say it, these mystery machines appear to become even more mysterious. The theory put forward was by someone claiming to look at and work with these machines every day. It was part of a black operations project to create magnetic energy. Apparently, according to this source, the program was a failure, and so for some reason the American government decided to bury it, quite literally. It seems like a common case of you can choose what to believe, and sometimes convenience can outweigh logic. Notably, the images the source put forward in support of their story do indeed look like the machines in question. The program they say they were involved in was called the LLNL fusion experiment, supposedly now a declassified project. The source's hypothesis pertaining to this project have since mysteriously been redacted. However, upon further investigation, I did find images of what appeared to be freshly cast parts of the exact same type of machine. What is interesting about this image is that they look more recent, even though the machines were apparently buried. Additionally, I feel the most important fact regarding the black operation which these machines were stated to have once been a part of, eventually turned out to be that of helium-3 reactors. These in fact being developed for space travel and helium-3 mining for fuel while on such planets as Mars in the future. Don't you find it just a slightly bit convenient that a UFO researcher discloses an image of an unknown machine with details of it being mysteriously unearthed to then have a military cover-up surrounding the object? A cover-up discovered by researchers simply searching for its authenticity? Not only that, but to even find a program coming from it connected to helium mining and space travel? Questions also arise from the original explanation. Unfortunately, it seems the government didn't want you to know what it is. If it was indeed a black ops project, firstly, why build 6 of them, if apparently untested technology? Secondly, if this was indeed a multi-billion-dollar state-of-the-art program, why would you bury the machines in sand? Thirdly, why are there reports of strange petroglyphs? Fourth, upon exhuming them again, why would you still decide to rebury them? And finally, how would a secret multi-billion-dollar project, buried in a secret military location, not be recorded and/or protected, subsequently dug up in the same base by the same government a few years later, supposedly by accident? Was this all merely a panicked attempt to explain away a huge discovery? One subsequently reverse-engineered, possibly left as a gift by ancient beings, leaked and disclosed in a popular book, slipping under the radar without being noticed? Whatever this image shows, it appears to be secret technology connected to advanced extraterrestrial travel and resource mining. They are indeed highly compelling.
The Earth, the blue marble, the third rock from the sun, and the place we all call home. Our entire existence, the entirety of humanity's experience, apart from a few space missions of course, all occurred here upon our planet. The entirety of humanity, and as so far discovered or publicly disclosed, home to the entire fabric of advanced multicellular life within the entire infinity of our universe, all resting upon this tiny water-covered sphere, spinning its way through what would appear to be an endless space, a vast darkness, an unending void, yet one that is far from empty. For example, just within the observable universe, every nanometer of the sky, drenched in fusion-producing balls of fire, stars, and other bodies, many of which are nearly identical to our Sun. Yet our living planet has a double-edged sword, violent volcanic eruption, whose core is still molten, a geological consequence of a relatively young planet. All of life's complex ecosystems, many of which we depend upon each day, live on a knife edge. The sheer size of space, the vast emptiness, could be seen as a safety cushion, for in such an empty place, our tiny planetary body fills hardly a fraction of even our own galaxy. However, it's filled with moving bodies, comets set hurtling through space by past ancient events, could one day hit our Earth, and have indeed done so in the past. And as mentioned in our previous video, we believe man may have experienced at least one of these events before, yet by luck or preparation, we survived. This assertion due to our in-depth research into the evidence of the many lost civilizations. In an instant, all this natural beauty, all this seemingly fanatical trial and evolutionary error gone. All these marvelous creations, innovations, varieties, and even entire genuses gone in an instant, wiped from all but fossilized memory. Resetting our flourishing planet to a near ball of dust and ash, something we claim the academically denied ancient civilizations were also aware of. Here on our channel, we posit that the event the dinosaurs experienced, a catastrophic natural event, one which nearly wiped them all from the face of the Earth, leaving only a handful of small-scale creatures, that man have experienced such events, and that the survivors of such not only went on to flourish, but went to great effort to not only prove they were once here, but were incredibly capable. Thus, as such, we believe ancients from all over the world, who are in communication with each other, please peruse our work on metal clamps, polygonal masonry, on the Bosda Caves, and our many other videos, tool signatures, and so on, for support of this claim of a once world-going superpower. They deliberately chose incredibly hard stone, often sourced from many miles away, incredibly hard to work. These granite, basalt, sandstone, and other stone megaliths, additionally often of gigantic size, would survive the test of time, resisting a tremendous amount before fading into the chasm of history. We claim this to have been done to say we were here. Long Yu Caves and Yangshan Quarry, China, Petra, Jordan, Aswan Quarry, Egypt, Bosda Cave, and many other sites display the same curious stone cut as our anomaly in question in tonight's video. Located within India, a country drenched in antiquity, much mysterious, baffling, and just as awe-inspiring as any other sites found anywhere else on Earth. One such feature, the Butter Well. It's located within a group of monuments at Mahabalipuram. Not only does it appear as a giant drill hole into solid rock, but the tool marks, far too symmetrical to have been created with primitive tools, as suggested, is but yet another anomaly which we claim displays several proofs of a hidden history and indeed technological creation. We find the Butter Well highly compelling.
Many ancient sites found scattered all over the planet share an enigmatic feature, a pattern of scarring left upon their megalithic blocks and often upon their walls, once left by a technology built by an as yet not understood civilization. We've previously covered the perplexing technique often used by ancient wall builds, found all around the world in the form of mysterious metal clamps. Used to seat huge stone blocks as they settled over the following years, these clamps, dated to similar times within antiquity and varying in style from continent to continent, somehow turned up all over the world at around the same time, strongly suggesting some form of intercontinental travel and thus sharing of technologies. Furthermore, and perhaps more intriguing, are the links that we, here on the channel, along with others in alternative research, and even funded institutes from nations around the world, have begun to notice and hopefully triangulate a signature left by this once highly advanced group of individuals. The most noticeable of these sites, and the one which initially started us upon this journey, was Longyu Cave in China. A cave system hewn from solid bedrock, leaving no waste piles of stone anywhere, marking the stone with a telltale scar pattern. These parallel marks are not just found at Longyu. Similar yet not identical marks have also been found elsewhere on Earth. A slight variation in style is what one would expect with shared knowledge. As with the metal clamps, a slight variation can be found from continent to continent. These similar marks can also be found at the ancient quarry of Yangshan, China, and Petra in Jordan, both argued for years to actually be the workmanship of a civilization far older than any noted within modern academia. These marks were then discovered to be upon the ceiling of Cave 1 at the ancient site of Mamallapuram, within India, another site which in places shows levels of erosion far in excess of that which should be seen at a site dated within known history. Yet perhaps the most impressive of these marks, and most probably the ones made by the conceptual machine of origin, are the scars witnessed and now subsequently catalogued at Baalbek. These are far too large for any hand tool, made into solid granite with such precision. These also display circular motions, as if left by a modern-day tunnel boring machine. This evidence, undoubtedly unnoticed upon many more ancient sites, is clearly compelling evidence to support our channel's hypothesis that a mysterious history once occurred here on our planet, and will hopefully shed some light on the amazing people responsible for this phase of our past. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.
We recently covered the astonishing ancient megaliths known as the Colossus of Memnon, a pair of 1,000-plus ton statues that have not only survived unknown eons into the modern day, but still possessed some of their most intriguing features all the way into known recorded history, most notably during the Roman Empire, when they were often regarded as having been able to sing at first light every day. We also touched upon the little-known conclusion made by a number of individuals and even funded academics, referring to many other enigmatic artifacts that have been found across Giza and even Egypt as a whole as having been once lathe-worked. These often stone artifacts are so precise in their construction, with pottery even displaying a level of delicacy from their makers, that the only explanation for their existence could be attributed to having once been machine-worked, with the ancient Egyptians, claimed as their so-called makers, having once possessed enormous lathes, something modern man has only understood and utilized for a very brief time span, with a number of multi-ton sarcophagi also sharing this explanation for their creation. As to explain them as having once been made merely by hand is not only illogical, but almost an inconceivable tale to attach to such precisely made stonework, created with not only astonishing symmetry, but also an astoundingly delicate and precise attention to detail, which modern man has only attained using modern lathes. Yet any explanation as to how these lathes were powered, how these individuals worked such enormous stones, or indeed what tools they utilized to cut such hard stones, remains largely unexplained. It is as if modern academia had been cornered by these past capabilities of this now lost civilization, having to admit that such precision can only be accomplished with seemingly advanced technology, yet conveniently leaving any practical explanation of what these technologies looked like, where they went, or how they were made or used, absent from their explanations of these incredible artifacts. Yet, interestingly, ancient Egypt is not the only place which contains these remarkable relics. Babalovo, also known as Bavolovka Palace, is a historical building located near the city of St. Petersburg, Russia. This palace was built towards the end of the 18th century, during the reign of Catherine II of Russia, and one of the most astonishing relics found within this building is the so-called bathtub, which is claimed to have been made for the Tsar Alexander I. This explanation of origin is regardless of its incredible size, symmetry, and indeed precision, in which it was once cut with precision that, just like the enigmatic artifacts that can be found within Egypt, should only have a logical explanation of creation, which included that of a lost technology, or more specifically, an enormous lathe and heavy-duty yet precision-cutting instruments. Yet curiously, this explanation is absent from mainstream academia's explanation as to the origins of this enormous multi-ton stone dish. Nero's bathtub is yet another smoking gun of this now lost technology, and indeed lost civilization. And although the vaults beneath where it lay within the Vatican measures an incredible 25 kilometers in length, packed full of hidden writings, artifacts, and historical controversies, this so-called bathtub is housed in full public view upon the floors of the Catholic palace above. These hidden vaults spared its presence, as if when first displayed, those in possession of it did not recognize the past accomplishment that this so-called bathtub once was. Not only the unusual shape of this other enormous dish for a bathtub, but the technology and techniques of stonework that would have once had to have been utilized to create it. They clearly believe that it was indeed created by Nero himself, and not a past relic of a now lost civilization, with all similar relics found within ancient Egypt exposed as ancient machine stones. The question is, who made these ancient relics? How did they make them? And if made by the claimed builders, why is this technology now lost? They are undoubtedly highly compelling. Although many within the funded sectors of academia would prefer to attribute the many unexplained ruins found throughout our world to the most fitting group who were merely inhabiting the site upon their rediscovery. Fortunately, when one knows what to look for, they can still find these sites literally dripping with evidence. Signatures not only left by their true creators, but also the tools in which they used to liberate these massive stones from the earth. Longyu Cave within China, undoubtedly a jewel in the crown of this now lost and little understood civilization, and, thanks to its location, having been sheltered from the elements, the clearest, most pristine signatures can be found here. One can then start to link other abandoned and extremely ancient sites, slowly unraveling the legacy of this now lost people. The tool marks within Longyu, for example, also present within Petra, Aswan Quarry, Japanese quarries, and many more, with Aswan being a place that also possesses scoop marks and small sections of polygonal masonry, suggesting that more than one civilization once responsible for the entirety of Giza, Baalbek, and many of the other larger megalithic sites, many now claimed as Roman. Yet these tool marks, thanks to our far-reaching and photographic research, can then be used to link and prove the past existence of an ocean-going superpower, who, like that of the polygonal builders whom utilized metal clamps, will aid in not only identifying the reach of this past empire, but also help differentiate them from the other now lost civilizations, which we are starting to separate and recognize. This past utilization and identification of lost techniques and technologies, the pathway to these discoveries. Additionally, an interesting caveat to these makers of Longyu is the absence of any waste material, often millions of tons of rock, as if it simply vanished on an atomic level. Yet I digress. The predictable dismissal that will inevitably be put forward is to classify these as merely high-end chisel works. However, this signature of the diagonal strips, along with not being the most effective way to quarry the stone, was clearly an intentional technique, possibly left as a maker's mark. This now, fortunately, aiding us in exposing the inconsistencies being peddled by mainstream archaeology. Who built and cut these pieces? How powerful and capable were they? We find the pursuit for these answers highly compelling. Along with the many other unexplainable feats, undoubtedly left by a highly advanced, highly capable lost civilization, there are the countless examples of extreme precision stone cutting. Not only is this remarkable past capability visible in their many stone walls and fortresses alike, but also in their exquisite artwork. If we look upon the statues of ancient Egypt, for example, the symmetry, along with the proportional precision present within their statues, is not only perfection personified, but unquestionably far too advanced for the so-called academically claimed builders to have achieved. According to the academics, along with their subsequent supposed accurate writings, these extraordinary feats of artistic perfection were somehow created by a group of individuals who were merely equipped with copper tools. Not only is this claim clearly ignorant of reality, but to create such works of symmetrical accuracy was unquestionably the work of a group of individuals far more advanced than even that of the Victorians, let alone those who thrived along the banks of the Nile more than 3,000 years ago. Not only is this precision present along the Giza Plateau, but it is also found at ancient sites all around the world. Masterfully created statues and structures, often carved straight out of stone bedrock, with such vision and artistic prowess that many now presume that the individuals capable of such feats must have had advanced machinery at their disposal. Most of ancient India, for example, is created with such delicacy and exactness that we today could only accomplish the same with the utilization of modern machines. Furthermore, many scholars and independent researchers, even a number of highly recognized academic Egyptologists, have reluctantly concluded that many of the basalt, gypsum, and other vases shaped from extremely hard stones, and indeed a number of multi-ton sarcophagus lids, were indeed turned into the shapes we see them as today, on some kind of ancient, enormous lathe. This conclusion is made regardless of the fact that to create such enormous stoneworks on a lathe would have undoubtedly been out of the realms of capabilities for those who are currently claimed as their creators. Not only do the ornamental artifacts of Egypt and much further afield strongly indicate machined working, but there is also overwhelming evidence of these same machines reminiscent of modern stone-cutting equipment present all over the world. Yet, conveniently, it is quietly ignored by the same individuals who have supposedly unraveled the history of these sites. Pumapunku, Giza's basalt floor, other areas throughout Giza, Peru, Malta, the list goes on. All these sites not only indicate an advanced, highly capable constructor, but also possess countless marks that, as of yet, we can only explain logically as having been left by precision, quick rotation, stone-cutting machinery. They are yet another overwhelming collection of evidence, which not only flies in the face of current academic explanation, but proof of an advanced, now lost civilization, having once been responsible for these sites' construction. They are highly compelling.